to the Ron and Brian Podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
All right, good evening. It is Sunday night. It is 8 p.m. It is time for episode 206 of the Ron and Brian Podcast. Joined, as always, to my, I guess, right on your screen, to my left in my heart, Brian. Brian, how the hell are you today, my friend?
Nervous.
Okay.
Annoyed. Anxious.
Okay.
Concerned.
Are you
as many of you who may be watching this right now will notice, I am not in my normal Brian headquarters.
No, without a doubt.
So the problem is, normally I keep the curtain up so that people don't know what's going on in my personal life. It's I do believe in privacy. However, it was requested by my landlord that I vacate my apartment. In fact, my entire apartment building is under an order by the New York City Board of Health to evacuate. Apparently there were an outbreak of Legionnaire's disease on floors 2, 4, 5, and 7. Now I live on the 7th floor.
Okay.
Fortunately, I feel fine. I don't feel any effects of the black. I don't think I feel perfectly healthy. I mean, look at these eyes. Do these eyes see like there's anything wrong with them?
Not at all. So that is an unusually rare disease in these days.
Yes.
I think, perhaps maybe you need to cut down on the flow of conventioneers that you parade through your apartment.
Well, one of the things I like to do in my apartment is I like to, I'm a big fan of life on the Amazon. So what I like to do is I like to turn the hot water on full blast.
Okay.
In every sink in the apartment, and I just like to let it run all day long.
Now, do you pay for your utilities?
I do not pay for water. I pay for electricity.
Screw your landlord. That's how you do it.
Yeah. So the problem is the fact that apparently the water coming down is what's the word I'm thinking of? Apparently the water that's been coming out has been filled with Legionnaire's disease.
So just rife with disease.
Yes. So so my landlord has been very kind enough to put me up in this corporate apartment just a few blocks from my home. It's not the same. I don't have the creature comforts that I like.
I mean, it looks very nice. It looks like the kind of apartment that only corporate money could buy.
Yes, absolutely. But it's not home.
Understood.
It's not home. So I will be here for an undetermined period of time. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Well, I think there's only one thing that's going to help that cough, Brian, and that's getting into our drink of the week.
Drink of the week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud.
Drink of the week. Pleasure.
Who's? Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the
So,
week.
Brian, what are you bringing to the table to drink this week?
I'm drinking coffee, Ron.
Oh,
I'm drinking coffee.
interesting.
What they said is that alcohol is very bad when you've got some very when you got the black lung.
Right.
Alcohol's bad. So therefore, I am sticking to a caffeinated beverage. This coffee is, I can feel the Legionnaire's disease leaving my body. As someone who has been stricken with the COVID-19 virus on multiple occasions during this pandemic, I really felt that, I was, coming out of this pandemic a healthier person. I was coming out a stronger person, a better-willed person. I felt that I was coming out a more compassionate person. I felt that I was coming. What's more important is that now
we've been using that clip for a few weeks now. I'm starting to think that maybe that was the start of the epidemic in your apartment building. Maybe we can trace it back to 3 weeks ago when you initially had that cough.
Do you think I was patient zero?
I mean, I'm not saying that you weren't patient zero, but anyway,
I mean,
I interrupted you.
I've had 6. There are 6 confirmed deaths in my apartment building from Legionnaire's disease. There are an additional 30 people currently hospitalized in Category 1 hazardous isolation in Elmhurst Hospital in Queens. I mean, it is considered an outbreak that could become the next pandemic.
Listen, and that's all well and good, but I think if we're really going to tackle the important issue here, Brian, talk to us about the cup of coffee. K-cup, brewed, French press, pour over. Talk to me.
Stop. The fact that your very first option was K-cup makes me want to close this laptop and never speak to you again.
Understood.
Because if there's one thing at the Ron and Brian podcast that we have established is that we take our coffee seriously. What are we talking here? We are talking about La Colombe coffee.
Nice. Of course.
Not pre-ground. These are beans that I grind myself. I did a coarse ground because I'm doing a pour over because it's pour over set. We're recording this. It's a pour over weekend. This is not a drip. This is not. We're not doing that. We're pouring over. So it really is giving the water the time to activate the coarse grounds and really just enter my bloodstream in such a way that the effectiveness of these caffeine is going to eliminate the Legionnaire's disease.
There you go. And so Brian is utilizing the Chemex system. I believe that's the one you're using right there. So if you would like to,
it's whatever they have in this corporate apartment of mine.
If you'd like to go with one of your own, go to the Chemex website and use the promo code Brian Says No to Legionnaires and get 3% off.
Is that an official? Because we do have an official sponsor ad that I have to read later on.
Maybe a little bit later. Maybe this.
They did say that it has to be around the 30-minute mark.
Okay. Well, we'll continue with drink of the week then. Anything additional you'd like to say about your coffee?
Absolutely, Ron. What are you drinking?
What am I drinking? Surprisingly enough, Brian, I also brought a coffee beverage to the table, but this time I had picked up that bottle of Jameson Orange a few weeks back. So I put a shot of Jameson Orange in my coffee. Let's see here. Oh, that's good. That the orange notes with the dark roast.
Keep drinking it. Keep drinking it because I know that's your jam.
Little,
can you slurp one more time for me? Because that kind of I felt something down there.
I think we're going to move on. I think we're going to avoid whatever it is you're doing over there. Okay. In the meantime, let's just keep it going. It's Beef of the Week time.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's bothering you this week?
Humidity. It is finally kicked in. I feel like we have walked away from the worst of winter. I know that we're halfway through the month of May, but I feel like at this point, it's time for me to put away my winter coats. It's time for me to put away the gloves, the scarf, and now it is time for me to embrace the lovely season of spring. Unfortunately, what this warmer weather has brought is a high level of water moisture in the air, which automatically seems to be attracted and gets stuck in that space right between my thighs
So a little bit below the titanium taint.
No, right where the taint is, like that
Okay.
whole area. So it's just so for the past 4 days, I've been just sloshing and slipping around as I walk through the streets of New York City. The humid, and also it causes the lower back portion of my t-shirt to get stuck to the skin.
Right.
I'm already complaining about the weather, so you can
And
see that I
May
have
14th.
reached peak level Caucasianness, that I'm already complaining about the weather.
Nice. Very nice.
Ron, what's bothering you?
Brian, we have a first in Ron and Brian Beef of the Week history.
Oh,
We
shit.
have-
I love
Yet
it.
again, we have
I love it.
3-time Beef of the Week with our good friends over at Jeep, who still can't seem to get their act together. I think we mentioned it a couple weeks ago that I was waiting on some parts that were going to take 5 to 7 business days. Now it's been a couple weeks, and I've been attempting to call the dealership and continually being put on hold. Cannot seem to speak to a human being there. And so I had also sent in a little complaint to the Jeep corporate and said someone would be
Sure.
getting back to me. Of course, 2 weeks went by, nothing on that either. So I called them as well on Friday and spoke to an individual. How can I best describe the tone of voice? Did you ever just speak to someone and the tone of voice just clearly indicates that they could give a fuck about you or your problem? They're just trying to get through their workday.
Yeah, that's usually every time I talk to you on the podcast.
So yeah, so apparently someone, Cora, is supposed to reach out to me in the next 24
Cora.
business hours. So
Okay.
we'll see. But I posted this on our TikTok, and if you're not following us on TikTok, you should be following us on TikTok, the Ron and Brian podcast. But this will give you an example. Let me see if I can pull up this video file of what I kind of go through now when I attempt to start the car. If you're listening, this will be of no use to you. If you're watching, this video should pop up momentarily. So there's me trying to start the car. I have both keys in the car and it says key fob not detected. So I wait till it says try start again. And the message just pops up again, key fob not detected. So I don't know why this video isn't playing the way it should, but it just constantly. So it took probably, I don't know, probably 6 to 7 times for it before it actually got started.
So let me get this straight. So you've got a key fob for the car. So is this one of those where you have to plug the key in and turn it? Or is this one of those new fancy cars where just by having the fob in proximity to the car, you can press a button and the car starts?
So ideally, yes, as long as you have the key in the car, it should start. So it's that RF hub, one of the many parts that we're waiting on. And I think you'll remember during my previous Beef of the Week that I had, the guy at the dealership was like, oh, just literally press the key against the start button. So that is me literally pressing the key against the start button repeatedly, trying to get it to start, and it taking like 6 to 8 times to start.
Now, does it always take 6 to 8 times to start? Because that was the
depends.
problem. I had a girlfriend when I was in high school, and
Did you?
I was just going through a lot of insecurities at the time, so it would take me 6 to 8 times to start.
I mean, I don't know if it's a similar issue. Did you have a bad RF hub back then? Who knows?
No, I had
Anyway.
low self-esteem. That's what it was.
So I will continue to fight the good fight. And the weird thing is, so when I spoke to the woman who really didn't give a shit at Jeep, she's like, oh, you've requested a buyback. And I'm thinking to myself, I haven't requested a buyback, but if you would love to buy this piece of shit car back from me, I mean, I'm certainly open to it, and I'll just go buy another car.
So in the system, they have it that you want to return your car.
Right.
Okay.
So we'll see. Well, you know, it was, I referenced the lemon law when I sent in my little complaint, because we're at the point where it qualifies for the lemon law. So maybe they just think I want to return it. Listen, if they want to give me a brand new one that works, that's fine. If they want to just buy it back and I can go buy a different car, that's fine. If they want to just let me know how they can fix it, I just want a car that, I know will start and take me where I'm going.
Do you now regret not getting a Mercedes-Benz like your wife did?
I mean, I guess a little bit. So maybe I should have gone with a Tesla. Maybe I should have gone with a higher end. I don't know. Maybe just not a Jeep. So hopefully that will not continue to be my Beef of the Week. But that was my Beef of the Week this week, Brian.
Correct.
All right. So what all we got a bunch of stories on the list this week. What would you like to start with, Brian?
The first story I think that is is a priority for me simply because it has been in the news. I've seen it on Twitter. I've seen complaints about it on Facebook. Is the shortage of baby formula that has rocked America, and is the latest cause that the Republicans and the right are using to justify their demands that Joe Biden be impeached.
Okay.
Now, I don't know anybody who's watching the show is aware, but I do not have any babies. I've never bought baby formula. I do not understand why a mother or a parent, let's not put this burden on the mother. I don't know why a mother would not choose to naturally feed her child. I don't understand why she would not use the nutrition that God created within her body to feed her youngin. It provides all of the natural nutrients that a baby needed back in the 1600s, the 1700s, the 1500s. Babies were drinking breast milk. In the 1400s, there was no baby formula. In the 1300s, babies
we also had a life expectancy of about 28 back then.
Well, you know what? Maybe that was ideal. Maybe there was something to be said for living 30 years and checking out. I don't know.
I'm just going to sit here and sip my coffee while you dig this little hole of yours deeper and deeper.
So part of me is sitting there saying, why is it that we as a society have become so dependent on manufactured faux nutrition for our the babies that we so care about, when we have that nutrition within the bodies of our women? Now, I understand if there is a single father who is raising a baby because the mother died in childbirth because she was not able to get an abortion because it was a risky birth. See, I'm just trying to dig as many holes as I can.
Yes,
right now,
no, you're just quite. That's why I'm just letting you go, because.
So I understand in that case.
Continue down this path, you should insult pretty much all of our audience base.
I see people have already walked away. But my question is, in all honesty, is there genuinely a baby formula shortage?
Okay.
Why is the baby formula shortage suddenly top news? Why is it any worse in relation to other supply issues that we have had over the past couple of years? I mean, it was only a short 2 years ago when people could not get toilet paper, but I do not recall there being any demands for presidential impeachments because people were hoarding toilet paper. I imagine that there is hoarding of baby formula going on. Just over the past 24 hours, I've seen stories on the right-wing sites, because I like to monitor all different types of media, not just the ones that speak to my sensibilities. But apparently the new outrage is that there's a massive amount of baby formula that is being stored on the borders so that the children in these immigration camps that Trump created and Biden refuses to shut down, despite the fact that he said he was going to shut them down, that those babies, there's just tons of formula for them, but the poor mother in Louisiana who needs to use baby formula for her child cannot find it in the stores. And this seems to be the top story in almost all right-wing media formats, and I don't understand it.
Okay. Well, there's a lot to unpack here. So let me break it down. So first, you seem to be taking the Bette Midler stance that she did on Twitter the other day, where she said, women should just try breastfeeding. which I assume you will probably get the same warm response from the internet that she did about her comments. So just in general, breastfeeding is not always possible for every woman out there due to various reasons. It could be due to medical reasons for the mother. It could be due to medical reasons for the child, especially if the mother or the child has any type of allergy or, immunodeficiency disease. That can be a challenge. So there is a large portion of women out there that just physically can't breastfeed their children for one reason or
So
another.
you're saying that if we were to apply the concepts of Darwinism in this case, that maybe that baby should not exist.
I mean, I guess you could go that way. So,
I'm not saying
Ryan,
that, Ron. Those are certainly not my words. I'm just saying that if we were to apply the rules of Darwinism, that if a mother gives birth to a child who cannot be fed off of the natural breast milk and would then die, then maybe that is just what nature wants.
So anyway, so to your first
point, I woke up and chose chaos today.
You did today, without a doubt. So anyway, to your first point, there is a percentage of women out there that cannot breastfeed their babies for a variety of reasons. There are mothers that choose not to breastfeed their babies. So are you saying you are fine with removing a woman's right to choose?
Oh, you son of a bitch. No.
So anyway.
I believe that women should have the right to choose. So
putting aside,
you just threw me in the middle of a minefield outside of Odessa.
So putting aside the breastfeeding argument, so the challenge is, yes, there is a lack of formula right now. I think on the news today it said that 45% of the nation's shelves that are normally stocked with formula are empty right now. There's a variety of reasons to that. I mean, you have your typical supply chain issues, you have your labor shortages. In addition to that, Abbott Nutrition back in February had to close its Michigan plant due to an issue of 2 infants dying and a couple others being hospitalized due to a bacteria infection at the plant. That plant has not yet reopened. And then you look at kind of the bigger picture, there is only 3 American companies that control 90% of the baby formula market in this country. And what they have done over the years is they have lobbied, Congress and the government and everything else for these hugely restrictive restrictions that prohibit any foreign made formula from coming into this country. So you've got an issue of, you've got one of the main producers of baby formula that has a plant completely shut down. They are in the process of reopening it, but even reopening it, there's going to be a 2-month lag between product being created and hitting the shelves. You've got foreign formula that is not allowed to be brought into the country for these reasons that these 3 companies have decided to create, like almost a monopoly.
You can call it a monopoly.
Yes, the government has purchased formula that is, currently being stored to take care of migrant children. So again, I think it's a talking point for the right because it's just one additional shit show that is a problem that has been created by both sides over the years. But, now it is a case of with the Democrats controlling the White House and Congress, it just allows the right to, go after them because this is something that is severely negatively impacting the American public. I mean, you have families traveling, 2, 4, 8 hours to get formula. There is, I know in New York City, they've mobilized and expanded the breast milk banks in your city. Mm-hmm. So like if a woman has additional breast milk, she can donate it to these banks and it can be given to families in need. You cannot go get breast milk, Brian. No, I'm sorry.
If I show up and say that my wife is home just attempting to breastfeed, but it's not working, so I'm here to pick up on her behalf?
You could give it a try. But unlikely. Is it completely Joe Biden's fault? No. Is it an issue that has been created by government and big business over the years? Yes. And it is, it is not one that can be fixed quickly, but for the hopes of, the families out there that desperately rely. I mean, I've seen, there's a number of photos that have been floating around of children who are allergic to various milks and various formulas, who, their families have been forced to give them these products that they're allergic to just to feed them. And they're breaking out in rashes and hives. It's causing respiratory issues. So it's really, the choices that families are being given right now is either starving their children or giving their children something that they know will make them uncomfortable or sick.
So has there been any talk of allowing foreign baby formula in?
So there has been talk about relaxing some of the restrictions on U.S. companies to hopefully expedite product going to market. I don't know that they've necessarily addressed the restrictions that would keep foreign product out of this country yet. But I would imagine that will be the next step if the U.S.-based companies can't start to stock the shelves quicker than they have been.
Because it sounds like you answered my question, what my following question is going to be, which is the fact that for the past, I'd say 2 years, we've been hearing these arguments of supply issues and global trade issues and pandemic. And, for a while there, the hot button ticket story was all of the boats that were lagging outside of the major ports throughout the world because we couldn't get labor. And it seems that there's just been like this revolving door of different excuses. What I don't understand, or up until the way you described it, is why is it that I can go to Duane Reade right now or Walgreens and get pretty much every product that I want, but somehow baby formula doesn't exist? Like it seems like the excuse of, oh well, there are supply issues, and there's the COVID, and there's the labor market. Like it gets thrown around so quickly when there's a problem, but there are products to the left and to the right that are in plentiful quantities. So it just doesn't seem like those excuses really make sense. Now, when you say to me that in America, there's only 3 places that make baby formula and one of them is shut down. Okay, now I can get now I get the idea as to why there's a limited amount of baby formula in this country.
Right. And also keep in mind that, the brands that are also out of stock are the brands that, if a family is on EFT, is on public assistance, those are the brands that are also out of stock. So if you are on,
yeah, but the far right wouldn't give a shit about those.
No, they don't give a shit about
let them die.
But if you're on public assistance, it's very possible that you're going to a store and that there is baby formula there in stock, but it's not formula that is currently covered by your EFT plan, so you are not able to purchase it, and the cost of formula is ridiculous. So that is another thing that they are working on as well. Is I believe one of the manufacturers, it may be Abbott, it may be the one that's reopening this plant, is allowing other higher end brands within their product line to be able to be substituted for those families utilizing EBT.
And I think now is a perfect time, Ron, for us to announce that in 2 weeks, we will be launching a new product on our web store, which you can access at ronandbrianpodcast.com. It's Ron and Brian Podcast Baby Formula, currently being tested by the FDA. Basically, what I did was I took out my cum box, scraped it off, ground it into a fine powder, added some ground up vitamins and whatnot, put it into a little bottle, and for only the small price of $39.99 a meal, you can feed your baby.
I feel like we may have some issues getting that past the FDA unless they really open up some restrictions, but we will see how that plays out.
Well, one of the benefits that we have going for us right now, and that's a good comment. Baby formula before new stickers. That's a dig, Ron. We do need stickers. But it's the fact that, when the market calls, Ron and Brian Answers. So Ron and Brian podcast Baby Formula will be available on our web store in the next 2 weeks. Keep in mind that this is for not for human consumption. So if you plan on giving it to your baby, you're doing it on your own volition. These are this is not something that we are going to take responsibility for. Should there be any type of side effects to your baby or to your adult male lover who likes to dress up as a baby? I mean, let's not forget, and I think this is another area where I think a lot of the supply of baby formula is being taken. You have got the American men who have the infantilism fetish, where they like to wear diapers, they like to lay in adult-sized cribs and be treated like babies. I mean, if you're talking about a man who weighs 300 plus pounds wearing an adult diaper, I mean, he's going to go through a lot of baby formula when he's being fed. I think that is an area where we are not addressing in terms of where the possible supply is going. We'll be launching a Ron and Brian podcast exclusive investigative report next week, where we are going to go after the infantilism kink people. We're going to shame them into not using up all the baby formula.
You know,
Ron, I'm going to ask you to take lead on that one.
I thought you might have. I thought there was a portion of our audience that you might not have offended with your earlier comments, but I feel that you've come full circle. You've insulted, you've kink shamed Ryan, and we often say that we don't do that here on the podcast.
No, I'm not kink shaming them. I'm asking them not to use baby formula. If they could switch to like Farina for the next couple of weeks, if they could switch to maybe some other type of liquid that can be put inside their adult size baby bottles while they go, ooh, baby may boom boom. I think it would be perfectly acceptable. I think it's time. Listen, when the nation is in crisis, we all need to sacrifice. And I think it's time for adult men who like to wear diapers and to be treated like babies. I think it's time for them to make a sacrifice for the next couple of weeks and not take up the baby formula.
You know what I hear is a big food item for that infant kink group? Peanut butter Cheerios. I found that out. I was not aware of that.
Time out here. Because I think you're serious.
No, I'm not.
I don't think that you're not serious.
No, I'm not.
God damn it. I thought listen, I'm going to tell you something. I know. Listen, I am utterly gullible. I will believe just about anything.
Well, and you're feverish too. You look sweaty. You look like the Legionnaires' fever has really gripped you hard. So,
absolutely.
Where maybe you're a little delirious right now.
Well, it's just the idea that right now I just had this great image of have you ever had an adult male running around in a diaper in your hotels?
I have not. No.
That takes place inside the room.
That's in the rooms. We don't worry about that stuff.
Okay.
All right. Another story. We didn't even get to this story last show. It was about the inmate who had escaped from Alabama courthouse with help from a corrections officer. They have both been captured now. The corrections officer.
I don't know that you could say that she was captured
and died due to the capture. So Casey White and corrections officer Vicky White, no relation, went missing.
No relation. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Alabama. You don't know. So they went missing April 29th after they left the county jail for a supposed mental health evaluation that was actually never on the books. So apparently some real strict checks and balances there in the courthouse system in Alabama. So they were on the run for a couple of weeks. Casey White was facing capital murder charges in connection with the death of a woman back in 2015. They eventually, thanks to tips, led the U.S. Marshals to a hotel in Indiana where these two were trying to hide out, and so they eventually saw them in a Ford truck They led U.S. Marshals on a high-speed pursuit, which ended in a crash between the agents and the fugitives. Before the two, now this is interesting. I didn't realize this part of the story. Before the two could be taken into custody, the corrections officer, Vicky White, shot herself. Casey White surrendered to authorities without resisting. So I don't know if it's been stated yet whether Vicky died from her self-inflicted wounds or the wounds from the accident.
They are saying that that the accident did not cause her to die, that she shot herself in the head. She was still alive when the marshals were able to get to the vehicle. She still had the gun in her hand when they got there. So their working theory right now is that she did shoot herself. What I find so ironic about this whole story is that the prisoner, Jack White, he was on trial for capital murder. He was going to spend the rest of his life in prison. She, who, and if I'm not correct, was just a few years away from retirement. She would have been able to retire with a full pension.
I think we have photos of the two of them here. Hold on a second. I believe that's Casey White on the left there.
I believe that is and they were supposedly in a relationship for 2 years inside the prison. And those two are only that's America, living on the coasts. We kind of forget what America really is. Her eyes are pretty far apart, which leads me to believe that there's been some inbreeding at some point in her future. She's not around anymore, people, so she can't complain to me. I could say anything I want, damn it. But what I find so outrageous and actually tragic about, all joking aside, but what's so tragic about this is the fact that he was in prison for capital murder. He was likely going to be spending his whole life in prison. Now, she was a few weeks away from retiring and with a full pension. Apparently, she had been a model employee.
Her boss called her an exemplary employee, and he was shocked that she was involved in all of this.
So, these two concoct this plan where she's going to sneak him out of prison, and they're going to go, life on the lam. They get caught. She kills herself, and he just goes back to prison where he was before.
Right.
His life is not. His life is going to be exactly the same where it was. She gave up everything.
I have to imagine, though, you respect her neckline because she's got that uniform shirt buttoned all the way up. So I know you, of all people. That's a flex that you can respect.
I do respect it. I do respect it. The neckline of his T-shirt irks me, and makes it like you can actually you can almost feel that on the right hand side of his shirt that it actually goes probably close to somewhere like half shoulder.
Yeah, probably to the clavicle almost.
Though I wonder, in prison, like how often do you get to swap out your T-shirts? I assume you're assigned clothes when you get there. Like if you get a stain on it, or in this instance, the neckline starts to deteriorate, can you just say, hey, I'd like to turn this in for a new one? Or do they say, hey, no, you've got to earn it. You've got to talk that sheriff into giving up her life on the in a failed escape plan. It's a tragic story when you think about it, because the result of it for the inmate is absolute. He's back to where we started with. He had nothing to lose, gained nothing, and is and exactly where he started. And you had this other woman who gave up everything.
It's a very sad story. Brian, I will make one pledge to you, though. Should you ever go to prison for an extended period of time, I will keep you supplied with high neckline shirts.
I appreciate that very much.
Will
you also make the pledge of supplying me with baby formula? Because I feel that with the current inmate population, that would be a hot item for their spouses who are going to be bringing their children to visit on visiting day, that I could trade that baby formula for promises that I will not be anally violated while in prison.
If you need it, I'm there for you, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you very
Brian,
much.
talk to me about what happened with cryptocurrency this week. I heard that the cryptocurrency and NFT market took a bit of a hit. Fortunes were lost. Lives were ruined. So tell me, because I consider you the crypto king of the podcast
Yes.
world.
Sure.
So kind of help, much like I educated you on the baby formula situation, educate me on what's going on with crypto right now.
All right. So the crypto market, and one of the things that we have spent multiple hours analyzing is within the crypto world, you're really looking at a two-tier system here. You're looking at the established cryptocurrencies, your Bitcoins, your Ethereums. These are considered safe investments. Yes, it will go up. Yes, it will go down. But the underlying principle of those currencies is that they are there's a level of legitimacy and dependability there that that there is enough of a market of buyers and sellers that there will that there's a level of stability, and that your money is not necessarily, it's not guaranteed, but it's safely invested. Then you reach the second tier cryptocurrencies, and now you're talking about your Dogecoin, your XLMs, your Lunas, where literally it is a wild west of cryptocurrencies, where in many cases the value is fractions of a penny, just like Labor Smart Stock LTNC, currently down 97% from my original investment. Thank you, Ron. Anytime. Penny stocks avoid at all costs. Anywho, but there you are, you're looking at much, why do I say this? You're in those second tier markets, you're looking at wild swings. It's very possible that they're going to go up 100% in one day. They're going to fall 84% in the next day. So for the active cryptocurrency traders, those are the areas where you're looking to really make a lot of money, where you can invest money and you can watch it double in an hour. With Bitcoin, you're looking at maybe going up 3%, 5%, things like that, up and down. The Bitcoin topped off at $69,000 last year. It was originally seen, the crypto markets was originally seen as a way to, as an alternative to the stock market, a way to put money in where it was not necessarily tied to the underlying fundamentals of the U.S. economy, which is where your stocks, your Dow, your S&P 500, your NASDAQ 1000, your NASDAQ 250, your S&P.
This time's gotta stop. Anyway, continue, please.
So what's ironically happened over the past couple months is that the Bitcoin and Ethereum have started intentionally just starting to reciprocate the movements of the general stock market. Those people who are stonk investors, people who have 401ks, have watched the stock market really in 2022. I think you're talking about the NASDAQ being down about 25%. I think
Stonks.
So what has happened is, over the past, I would say maybe 2 to 3 weeks, you have watched the value of these major cryptocurrencies go down by about a half. Bitcoin, which had been trading, down from its high of 69,000 per Bitcoin, was trading in the 50,000, 40,000 range, slid within just days. I believe it bottomed out earlier this week at $25,000 per Bitcoin. So those people who had been investing at the 50 and the 45 suddenly their Bitcoin is worth half of it. I don't know why this light just went out. But what was most so literally you are talking about people whose crypto portfolios literally were just imploded. That's the people who had invested in the more legitimate Bitcoin and Ethereum. There were other cryptocurrencies where they were down 80, 90, 95% last week, literally within a week, which opened up threads on Reddit this past week of people saying that they were going to be forced to move out of their homes because they couldn't pay for their mortgages anymore. People were talking suicides. I'm all in favor of those people. I think that when it comes to investing, and this is where I take a very conservative approach, invest what you can afford to lose. This, investment is not, it is not a way for you to make your rent money.
It's like gambling. Don't bet with your head, not over it.
It's okay, if you want your career to be a day trader and whatnot, okay, but understand the risks of it. But do not buy a McMansion based on the fact that your Bitcoin is up, because it's an unstable. Even stocks, I wouldn't treat. I think that what you can do is it's okay to invest in moderately legitimate investment vehicles like the stock market, EFTs, things like that. But if you're taking gambles on Bitcoin and whatnot, understand that this money can get wiped out very quickly, because in theory, there is nothing actually underlying providing value to these cryptocurrencies. When you buy a share of a company, take for instance Twitter, there is a company that is actually in operations that has revenue coming in and out, which can help justify a value of a company. So your share is a percentage ownership. When you buy a percentage of a Bitcoin, there's absolutely just a random value that is being assigned based on supply and demand. Which if the supply suddenly spikes, which is what took place this week, a lot of people suddenly saw that Bitcoin was not seen as a safe alternative to the stock market. Price drops suddenly. The demand for people buying suddenly dropped for the exact same reason, and that's why you saw the crypto market crater.
And the biggest one, obviously, was Luna, which had peaked in early April, I think, around $120, dropped to $1 the other day, and then continued to go down. But what was shocking was when it kind of cratered at $1. There was a group of people that were like, buy the dip, it's going to go back up, and plunged a bunch of money into Luna, which then responded by dropping to a penny. So wiping out. There were people that literally, on top of the people that lost hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars when it went from 100 to 1, there was another group of people that lost when it went from $1 to a penny. Then you had people that were like, well, it can't possibly go lower than a penny, and just bought as much as they could at a penny, and then it went down. I think it's about 0.0005 cents right now, and has been.
Yes,
I think it's in the process of being delisted on all cryptocurrency exchanges.
Yes, and I think with the example of Luna was that it was there actually was an argument of it being tied to a specific value.
Right. So it's called a stable coin. So it's actually tied to the US dollar.
Right. And then last week, I believe the owner of Luna, or the CEO of Luna, announced that you can actually see Janelle just getting completely bored in this conversation. Like, she's checked out. And they announced that they were that they were pegging it from the, I just said the word peg. So I imagine William Esquire just got interested in this conversation. But they depegged it from the dollar. So suddenly they took it from a stable coin to just a random crypto. And that's where, that's what launched the downslide to it.
I think my favorite series of tweets I saw was, I forget who it was, but it was someone who had invested in Luna early on, and about a month ago he posted on Twitter saying like, "Oh, my wife said I should sell some of my Luna since it's hit 100, and I told her you're just like those people that told people to sell Amazon when it was $100." And needless to say, his follow-up tweets over the last couple of days have been very he's not happy with himself and saying he should have probably
I imagine he's sleeping on the couch.
very possibly. Now,
Well, for instance, I'll just say this in terms of, I have a limited crypto portfolio.
correct.
I had probably maybe a week and a half ago, I had about $2,700 invested in a combination of Ethereum and Bitcoin, and I lost about $1,000 in a week. So if you're looking at percentages, I lost over a third of my portfolio within a week.
Now, do you think any of this is tied to Madonna's release of 3 NFTs?
I'm going to let you take this one, Ron.
One of which we're going to pop up on the screen here. So yeah, so Madonna getting into the NFT game. This on the screen right here is one of hers where she's sitting on a metal operating table, nude, while plant life grows out of from in between her legs. And you can't tell from the screenshot, but Justify My Love is playing in the background.
I would say that Madonna has made some very questionable decisions with her career over the past few years. I think that not to besmirch the NFT market, but she is probably, I would say, about a year late to the game.
Yes.
The market for NFTs is now about, I think I read about half in terms of demand, in terms of dollars that are being spent on NFTs. I think they're about half of what they were before, which I think is actually, just a sub-function of the current state of investments. Stock market's down, crypto's down. So I understand, it makes sense that NFTs would also be down. But the idea that a 60-year-old aging pop star, would suddenly decide that she is going to offer up her body in sexy ways and sell NFTs of this. I think, this was something that would have been in demand 30 years ago.
And apparently this is something that she is doing for charity. So I don't know how much that's actually going to raise money for charity.
What charity? I would love to know what charity is going to take this money and say, yes, we accept the $240 that Madonna earned for us.
Moving on.
I mean, did we post those creepy TikTok videos that she had been putting up?
We did not, but we can look to share those later.
Well, let's not. But she's exhibited what, I wouldn't say just, disturbing in the sense of we need to check on her mental state, but she has been she joined TikTok and she's been starting to post videos on it, but they are of it appears that she is wildly out of touch with who she is in terms of the public eye in relation to who she used to be. She was the number one sex symbol during the 80s. She was the it girl for most of the 90s. She is now a over the hill, ravaged by plastic surgery, does not look like a human being anymore, and yet she's still acting as if she's going to get the response from the public that she did when she made Papa Don't Preach.
So
I'm in trouble deep.
So it'll be interesting to see how many different layers of complaints we get about Brian this week.
Why would we get any?
I mean, you were a little harsh just then.
Oh, like I said, I woke up and chose. Well, how would you feel? How would you feel if you woke up one morning with coughing up blood, and your landlord said you need to leave your building because we believe that the water supply has been tainted by Legionnaire's disease. we'll put you up in this apartment, but you can't bring any of your stuff. I mean, I was fortunate enough that I was able to sneak away my trusted Blue Yeti microphone and my laptop so I could do this show. But otherwise, I've been wearing this same T-shirt for 4 days.
All right, fair enough. I apologize for questioning you. Moving on, we've got Elon Musk saying that his deal with Twitter is on hold.
Yes.
But he's still apparently committed to have it go through. Now, apparently, so he tweeted that the deal was on hold pending details supporting calculation that Twitter had asserted that spam or fake accounts represent less than 5% of users.
Sure.
Which then tanked the stock price. The stock price dropped down to about $33 and change, dropped about 25% below his offer of $54.20. They were back up to about $40.72 by the time the market closed. So the question, becomes with a lot of people is he actually looking to walk away from this deal? Was this some sort of, mechanism to try and reduce his offering price? We'll see. Again, if either side walks away from the deal, they'll owe the other a $1 billion breakup fee. So it's not like he can just walk away from the deal right now, but he certainly can try and make it, more of a, if he knocks the stock price down, this could go from a $44 billion deal to, let's say, a $25 to $30 billion deal.
I think the real question here, Ron, is we need to be thinking about the stock investors who bought Twitter stock at $49 after Elon Musk made his initial offer and said to themselves, hey, hold on a second. Price is now $49. I can make $5 a share if I invest now because this deal will go through sometime in October. So, I'll let my money sit here for a few months, make $5 a share, and have now watched that stock price go down to $40. Those are the people I think we really need to worry about, especially when they've been kicked out of their apartment due to their building being surrounded by Legionnaire's disease. Not one of my more impressive investments.
I'm very sorry to hear that as well. That's even more saddening than the Legionnaire's disease.
It has not been a good investment profile week for Brian on this side. But I will say this, is that when you look at it, I'm still alive. I'm still breathing. I don't have my health. It's been a challenging week. Let's just say to say the least. Maybe that's why I'm in the mood that I am, and I am choosing violence.
Well, hopefully this will lighten your mood. It was released this week that Norm Macdonald, who passed away last September at the age of 61, privately shot an unreleased 1-hour stand-up special with the caveat that it only be released upon his death. It was back in the summer of 2020 during the pandemic. He recorded it in his living room, filmed the entire hour in a single take. And again, it was right before he was actually going to have a medical procedure back in 2020. They set it aside. And when he became ill, last year, before he could redo the special in front of a crowd, he just said, hold on to this and release it if I pass away. So on May 30th, Netflix will release Norm Macdonald, Nothing Special, to the world. I'm excited.
We will watch it. Yes.
We've talked about this. Norm was one of our favorite comedians, and I'm very, interested to see how someone like Norm, what kind of material he would come up with when he's under the impression that he would not be around to have to listen to any of the repercussions of anything he might have to say.
And he's filmed it in his living room in front of no audience.
Right.
It's just him doing material to a camera. He just wanted it to be recorded in case he did not survive. So I think, and I actually feel that would be even better Norm, where he's not, it's not dependent on a crowd reaction.
Right.
He's just it's almost a purer form of Norm comedy.
Which I guess would lead to the next obvious question, Brian. What are you watching?
Oh, I've not watched much. I mean, I'm still knocking out the same two shows. I'm watching Under the Banner of Heaven, which is coming out once a week. the Mormon murder investigation, and I'm still knocking Better Call Saul in its final season. I do want to watch Ozark, but I have not been able to get to it yet.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Ron?
Yes.
What are you watching?
So I watched the first episode of the short series Candy on Hulu, which is starring Jessica Biel, portrays the real life story of Candy Montgomery, a Texas housewife who was accused of killing her friend with an axe back in 1980. And then I also watched the first episode of the new Kids in the Hall series.
That's out?
Back on Amazon Prime. Yes, that is back.
How is it?
Good. It's the first episode is a little slow to get started because they're set. So the premise is, and it's kind of funny that, you know, the reason they're coming back is in the beginning, you see someone buying an old VHS tape of the Kids in the Hall movie Brain Candy at a garage sale for $1. And and because of that, Brain Candy finally breaks even after 30 years of being released. So now that's
clever premise. That movie was terrible, by the way, when it came out.
So now that the movie's broken even, the deal with the devil, the curse with the devil has been broken, and they can come back and do the show.
It's clever.
It's clever, and you know, again, I think they brought back a couple of characters in the first episode. I think we'll see more of their reoccurring characters later on. But it was good enough to make me want to watch the rest of it.
Okay.
They reshot the opening. So the opening is basically a shot-for-shot remake of the original opening with the same band, all of them, but all of them as they are now.
Oh, what was the name of that band? Oh, it was like Scary Monsters and Strange Times. It was something
Chasing Sidewalks or something like that.
No, it was like I remember finding their CD and enjoying it.
All right. Well, now you're keep going. Now you're going to make me look it up.
No, it was like a 5-word thing. It was like strangers in the something.
Hold on.
What do we got? Come on.
Shadowy men on a shadowy planet.
I wasn't even close, but I feel like I was closer than you were.
But
I remember I bought one of their CDs. I enjoy that kind of music where it's I like that instrumental rock sound.
Yeah. So I would say, going into it, I was a little concerned because like the ratings on Amazon right now are at like a 3.5. So I think it's one of those things where I think if you watched Kids in the Hall back when it was first out, I think you're either you're gonna enjoy the nostalgia of it, or you're just gonna be. I don't think it's as edgy as the original Kids in the Hall was, but I think it's worth a watch.
I will definitely watch it.
And that's really all I'm watching this week. Okay. What else do you want to talk about before we wrap up here today?
Oh, I just wanted to update our celebrity obituaries. Last week, we were hit with the very unfortunate news that Naomi Judd had passed away prematurely. When we did the show last week, the news only had said that she had passed away, and that the family quote was that she had we lost our mother due to mental illness. And we were unsure of what exactly that meant. More information has trickled out. Ashley Judd, her daughter, did an interview with Diane Sawyer. I do not know whether that has been fully released, but during the interview, clips have been released. It has been confirmed that Naomi Judd.
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. Got confused because I know there was also Winona. That Naomi Judd, the mother, she actually killed herself with a firearm. And Ashley actually found her mother's body herself. So a sad story suddenly feels even more tragic to me. It's a reminder to it's a reminder to me that no matter what you think somebody's life is, you actually have no idea what's going on in their brain. I can guarantee you that there's tons of people that were walking around, myself included, a week ago, who sat there, and if they were said, "Oh, what do you think about Naomi Judd?" I mean, I would say, "Oh, she's a multimillionaire. She's toured the world, performing with her daughter. I imagine that woman's got one of the easiest lives on this earth." to think that she found herself in a position where she found life unbearable and needed to end it. Just shows you that you never really know what's going on in somebody's mind. And that, you always hope that, people reach out when they start reaching that level of low.
Very well said. Kudos to you. You're ending this on a much more positive note from you. You're reducing the amount of chaos. Also passing this week, just a few to make note, Big Lebowski actor Jack Keller passing away at 75. Bruce McVitie, who was in Sopranos and Sex and the City, passing away at age 65. And then
I'm not sure that he even warrants a celebrity. I mean, I never watched Sex and the City, so I can't really state how big of his role is. But on The Sopranos, he played a juror during Junior Soprano's trial. I think he was in about 2 episodes. And so I don't know that I would really categorize him as a Sopranos star.
All right. NBA Hall of Famer Bob Lanier. Good enough for you?
He was, he was the first basketball player whose jersey I went out and bought when I was 6.5 years old. Wore it till the thread started giving out. His ability to flummox defenses was just legendary. His fadeaway jumper was, it redefined the 2-point shot. It actually was Bob Lanier who said to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, formerly known as Lou Alcindor, he actually said to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, listen, if you're going to come at me, you better not go directly to the hoop because I will stop you. At which point Kareem Abdul-Jabbar realized at that point that the only move that he could get over Bob Lanier was the sky hook fading back. So Bob Lanier, not only does he belong in the Basketball Hall of Fame, but the impact he had on the modern game goes, it just cannot be spoken of highly enough.
Well, a surprising wealth of Bob Lanier knowledge from Brian. He passed,
and absolutely none of that is true.
None
of that is true. I just made all of it up.
And then character actor Fred Ward, a lot of you probably know him best from Tremors, passing away at the age of 79.
Can I ask a question? What was Tremors? Because I don't think I ever watched it, and I know I've heard quite a bit about it.
That was that movie with the creature that lived underground, and I think was Kevin Bacon in the original.
Is that the one where they're digging holes in the ground?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I think I've seen little clips of it, and I just found it kind of disturbing, and I just turned it off.
There's been like about 10 sequels, I think, roughly. Kevin Bacon and Reba McEntire were in it, apparently.
Now, was Reba McEntire the one that shot herself in the face so that her daughter could find her, or was that somebody else?
That was Naomi Judd.
Oh, yeah. I get them mixed up all the time.
Yeah.
Reba actually was the star of the television sitcom Reba, because what America really needed was a sassy white woman, a matriarch of the family to really put her family members into, keep them in line. Reba on the WB, or was it the CW? Because I guarantee you Reba didn't make it.
I think the initial was on the CW, and then the reboot was on the WB.
Got it.
Anything else before we wrap up this week, Brian?
No, I think we're good. This was a very special episode. It's getting me through my my quarantine, not COVID quarantine, but my Legionnaire's disease quarantine. Hopefully, right. By episode 207, I will be allowed back in my building. I know they're going to have to completely redo all of the interior plumbing. They're going to have to redo the water tower on the roof. It could be a couple weeks. We'll see where we go. But I just appreciate all the support from the fans and friends who have reached out to me and said, we're praying for your health.
All right. Brian may not be able to go back to his apartment, but we are going to be moving on to After Dark just a scant 21 minutes from now for our Patreon subscribers. If you have not subscribed to the Patreon, and after this hour and 9 minute of amazing content, I don't see why you wouldn't. just go to ronandbrianpodcast.com, click in the upper right-hand corner to become a patron. And if you join at the bronze level or higher, that's $10 a month or more, you get access to the Live After Dark, which will start at 9:30, just again, about 21 minutes from now. You also get a bunch of great swag. There's a lot of great stuff there that you can get at the different levels. So check it out, ronandbrianpodcast.com. In the meantime, we're going to get ready to head on over there. Anything additional before we head out, Brian?
Absolutely. I just want to let Guacamole know that he's in my thoughts.
Yes, prayers up for Guac. He's been a little under the weather, so we are hopefully going to get him back to health so we can rehome him, because he's just a bully to our other cats. But other than that, all right. Thank you all for joining us. We'll catch you again next week.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com.